the cornfield whispered. It was well past midnight, the moon swollen and pale above the frost-touched earth, but the stalks swayed as though stirred by voices, not wind. Miles Carter stopped at the edge of his land, shovel in hand, listening. There it was again, a sound like hushed breathing. He leaned closer, boots sinking into soil that should have been hard by now, but the ground gave under him as if freshly tilled. He had burned this field 2 weeks ago. He had salted it, cursed it, prayed over it. Nothing should have grown here, and yet, here it stood, corn high as his shoulders, green and alive, bending toward him in the night. Something shifted inside, a tall figure moving where no figure should be. Miles's breath fogged in the cold air. "Who's there?" he called, voice breaking. The stalks trembled. Parting slowly, a man-shaped shadow stepped forward, but its face was a blur, shifting, faceless, like mist inside a hood. It lifted a hand, pointing straight at him. The whispering swelled into a chorus of dry voices. Harvest never ends. Harvest never ends. The shovel dropped from Miles' hand. When he blinked, the figure was gone. The corn swayed as if laughing. Behind him, the farmhouse light flickered. His wife's scream cut through the dark. By dawn, the field looked normal. Rows of corn shimmered in the weak October sun, dew dripping down their leaves. Miles stood on the porch, hands trembling around his coffee mug. Sarah hadn't spoken to him since the scream last night. She wouldn't even look at him. "You said you burned it," she muttered finally, staring out at the rows. "I did." His voice cracked. "You saw me do it. Then why is it back?" He had no answer. Their farm had been in the Carter family for generations, and every autumn the same nightmare returned. Crops that refused to die, fields that grew back overnight no matter how they were destroyed, and each season someone was taken. Miles' father had warned him before he died, hands shaking as he whispered in the hospital bed, "The harvest feeds itself. Don't try to fight it. Don't let it take her." At the time, Miles thought it was fevered rambling. Now he wasn't so sure. Sarah set her mug down hard. "We're leaving, tonight." "We can't," Miles said. "It'll follow," her head snapped toward him. "You're talking like your father now. Crazy." But he wasn't crazy. Last night he had seen it, the faceless thing in the corn. And Sarah had heard it too. He could see it in her eyes. She was terrified but wouldn't admit it. The whispering drifted across the yard again. Soft and playful, Sarah stiffened. "Miles," she whispered. The window. He turned. Their daughter, Emily, stood in the upstairs window staring at the field. Her small hand pressed to the glass. Her lips moved, shaping words he couldn't hear. When he stepped off the porch to call her, the corn rustled, though there was no wind. That evening, Miles drove into town, desperate for answers. The diner was half empty, the usual farmers hunched over black coffee and pie. Conversations died when he walked in. Old Mrs. Weller, wrapped in her moth-eaten shawl, gave him a look like pity. "It's your turn," she rasped. Miles froze. "What do you mean?" "You know." She leaned closer, her breath sour. "Every family takes their turn." "Always has." "I salted the earth," Miles snapped. "Burned it to the roots. It keeps coming back." Her eyes glistened. "You can't stop the harvest," another man muttered from a booth. "Best give it what it wants." "What the hell does it want?" Miles demanded. Silence. Everyone looked down at their plates. Only Mrs. Weller answered. "Blood." By the time he returned home, the sun was sinking. The field stretched taller than before, golden heads swaying though the air was still. Sarah met him at the porch, panic sharp in her eyes. "She's not talking," she whispered. Miles rushed inside. Emily sat at the kitchen table, a drawing spread before her. Crayons scattered like spilled bones. The paper showed their house, the field, and a figure in black standing in the corn. "Sweetheart," Miles said softly, kneeling beside her. "What's this?" Emily looked up, eyes too wide, pupils swallowing the blue. Her voice came out flat, too calm for a child. "He told me it's almost time." Miles' throat closed. "Who?" She smiled faintly. "The harvest man." Sarah covered her mouth with a shaking hand. That night, Miles locked every door, boarded every window. But when darkness fell, the house shuddered as if something heavy circled outside. The whispering returned, louder than before, crawling under the floorboards. At midnight, the cornstalks scratched against the walls. A voice slipped through the cracks. "One for the field. One for the field." Emily laughed in her sleep upstairs. The storm broke at 2 a.m. Rain hammered the roof, wind bending trees, but the corn outside didn't bend. It stood straight, unnaturally rigid. As if defying the storm, Emily's scream tore through the house. Miles and Sarah bolted upstairs, bursting into her room. The window was open, curtains whipping in the wind. Emily was gone. No, Sarah shrieked, climbing onto the sill. Miles pulled her back. It wants her. That's what it's after, but he couldn't let it have her. Not his little girl. He grabbed the lantern from the hall, stormed out into the night. Sarah chased after him, barefoot in the mud. The field opened as they entered, stalks parting in a narrow path. The whispering grew deafening, voices overlapping. Harvest, harvest, harvest. Emily stood at the center of the clearing, hands limp at her sides, eyes blank. Behind her, the faceless figure loomed, towering, its body made of twisting stalks and roots, its mouth a hollow void. Let her go. Miles roared. The figure tilted its head. Corn husks peeled back, revealing rows of teeth made of stone. She's ours, the voices chorused. Miles raised the lantern. Take me instead, Sarah screamed, clutching his arm. Don't, but the figure stepped closer, shadow spilling across the ground. The lantern flickered, dimmed, then burst into flame. The fire leapt from the glass into the stalks, spreading fast. The harvest man didn't flinch. He reached out, pressing his hand against Emily's chest. She gasped, eyes rolling back. No! Miles lunged, driving the lantern into the figure's body. Fire erupted, devouring it in a blaze of sparks and ash. The corn shrieked, collapsing around them. Emily collapsed into Sarah's arms, coughing. For a moment, Miles thought they had won. Then he heard it. Beneath the crackle of fire, the whispering still rose. Harvest never ends. Harvest never ends. By morning, the field was ash. Smoke drifted in the pale sky. Emily slept in Sarah's arms, pale but alive. Miles stood at the edge of the field, staring at the blackened soil. His body ached, his throat raw from smoke, but he felt nothing but dread, because even now he could see it. Tiny green shoots poking through the ash. Fresh corn sprouting, impossible and fast. He sank to his knees. Sarah came to his side, clutching Emily tight. It's over, she whispered. You destroyed it. Miles shook his head. No, his voice broke. It's starting again. The whispers curled through the wind, faint but certain, rising from the soil itself. Harvest never ends. The first stalk pushed higher, leaves unfurling. Miles closed his eyes, knowing the truth his father had carried to the grave. There was no winning. The field would always grow. The harvest would always take, and next autumn it would return for them all. The fog rolled in without warning. At first, it was a thin veil drifting through the valley, soft and harmless. But by nightfall, it had thickened into walls of gray, swallowing fences, houses, even the road itself. Anna Parker pressed her face to the cold window pane of her grandmother's house, trying to catch a glimpse of the village lights down the hill. Nothing, just a pale, shifting void. A muffled sound floated through the mist. A voice, Anna. Her breath hitched. It was her brother's voice. But Daniel had died last winter, his grave still fresh in the churchyard. The fog curled tighter around the house. She stepped back from the glass, heart thundering. The voice came again, clearer this time, right outside the window. Anna. Let me in. The glass frosted over where the words touched it, as though breathed from the other side. Anna stumbled back, colliding with the table. A photograph of her family rattled in its frame and fell face down. When she turned it over, Daniel's face was missing, scratched clean out. The fog pressed harder against the window, tapping faintly like fingertips. Her grandmother's voice whispered behind her, dry and sharp. Don't answer. Once you answer, they know your name. The village of Hollow Creek had always been swallowed by fog in autumn, but never like this. This fog didn't drift. It stayed, it pressed, it listened. Anna's grandmother, Eliza, shuffled across the room, shawl pulled tight around her bony frame. She lit another candle, though the others were already burning low. You saw him, didn't you? Eliza said without looking up. Anna's throat tightened. I heard him, Eliza nodded slowly. That's how it starts. The old woman's voice carried the weight of generations. She had lived here her whole life, and Anna had heard the stories about people stepping into the fog and never returning, about voices calling loved ones by name, but she had never believed them until now. "We should leave," Anna whispered. "Pack a bag, go." Eliza's laugh was bitter. "Leave? Where?" "Fog stretches farther than you think. It doesn't let go." Outside, something scraped against the siding. Anna froze. The sound circled the house slowly, like footsteps in thick boots dragging through gravel. "Don't look," Eliza hissed, clutching Anna's wrist. "It wants you to look." Anna's skin prickled. The scraping stopped at the door. Silence. Then a knock. Soft, polite. Anna's heart skipped. "Anna," her brother's voice said again. "It's so cold out here. Let me in." Her grandmother's grip tightened. "If you open it, he'll never leave." But Anna's hand had already started to move toward the latch. For 3 nights, the fog didn't lift. The world outside vanished, the house suspended in pale silence. The candles burned down to stubs. The food in the pantry grew scarce. Each night, the voices came. Sometimes it was Daniel, sometimes her mother, who had died years ago, sometimes strangers she didn't recognize, whispering her name with wet, hungry breaths. Eliza never slept. She kept vigil by the door, muttering prayers under her breath. On the 4th day, Anna woke to find the door wide open. "Eliza," she whispered, panic rising. Her grandmother sat in the chair, eyes glassy, lips moving soundlessly. The fog curled into the room around her feet. "Eliza." Anna shook her, but the old woman only stared past her, into the shifting gray. Then Anna heard it, her own voice echoing from outside. "Anna." Her blood ran cold. It was her. The voice was perfect, identical, but stretched thin, like something hollow was speaking through her lungs. "Anna, come out here." She stumbled back, heart hammering. Her grandmother blinked slowly, finally speaking. "It's hungry now. It won't stop." Anna slammed the door shut, bolted it, dragged the table against it. But the fog seeped through the cracks anyway, curling like fingers around her ankles. By nightfall, the whispers were deafening, circling the house in overlapping voices. "Anna, open the door." "Anna, come home." "Anna, please, don't leave me alone." Her grandmother clutched her rosary, rocking back and forth. "Don't listen. Don't listen." But the voices were hers now. Every single one. That night, Anna snapped. She couldn't stand the whispering anymore, the endless begging, the sound of her own voice outside her own skin. She grabbed the lantern and the carving knife from the kitchen. "Eliza," she said, shaking her grandmother's shoulder, "we're ending this, tonight." Her grandmother's eyes sharpened with fear. "If you step into it, you'll never—" But Anna was already pulling the door open. The fog swallowed her instantly, damp and choking, the lantern's glow barely reaching 2 feet ahead. The whispers surged, voices pressing from all directions. Her own face emerged from the fog, a shape of smoke and shifting features, her eyes hollow pits. It smiled with her mouth. "Finally," it whispered in her voice. Anna raised the knife, trembling. "You're not me." The figure leaned closer, cold breath against her ear. "Not yet." It lunged. She slashed, the knife passing through mist that felt solid as flesh. The figure shrieked, dissolving, but the fog only thickened. Hands formed in the mist, dozens of them, grabbing, pulling. She screamed, fighting, the lantern swinging wildly. Shapes pressed in, faces of everyone she had ever known, mouths open in silent cries. "Eliza." Anna screamed, choking on the fog. "Help me!" For a moment the lantern flared, pushing the mist back. She stumbled toward the faint outline of the house. But when she burst through the door, slamming it behind her, her grandmother was gone. Only her chair remained empty, rosary dangling from the armrest. The fog pressed against the windows thicker than ever. Days passed, or maybe hours. Time blurred in the endless gray. Anna sat alone in the candlelight, knife on the table, lantern burned out. She hadn't seen Eliza since that night. She hadn't heard the voices either. The silence was worse. Until now. "Anna." A voice whispered softly from the corner. She looked up, heart twisting. It wasn't her brother. It wasn't her mother. It was her grandmother's voice. Anna pressed her hands over her ears, rocking in the chair. No, you're not her." but the fog was already seeping in under the door again, curling toward her like smoke with teeth. Her grandmother's voice grew louder, closer, right behind her head. "Anna," it breathed. "It's your turn." The candles went out, only the fog remained. The leaves wouldn't stop falling. Every night when the street lamps flickered on, the pavement filled with the brittle crunch of autumn, even though no wind stirred. The maples along Brookside Lane had shed weeks ago, yet new leaves kept appearing. Dry and red as blood, Maya Turner walked home late after closing the bookstore, her boots scuffing through the endless layer. The sound was too loud in the stillness, every step echoing like bones breaking. She froze when she heard a second set of steps behind her. Crunch. She turned. The street was empty. Houses dark, curtains drawn. Crunch. This time it was closer. Maya's breath fogged in the cool October air. She forced herself forward, faster now, heart pounding. The steps followed, perfectly matching her pace, always just one beat behind. She spun, shouting, "Who's there?" Only silence. But then she saw them, footprints forming in the leaves one by one, pressing into the ground, though no one stood there. The footprints stopped a few feet away, pointing straight at her. Maya stumbled back, clutching her keys like a weapon. The leaves stirred, rising in a faint spiral, and a whisper slipped through the air. "Don't run. You'll only make it louder." The next morning, Brookside Lane looked the same as always. Quiet houses, pumpkins sagging on porches, the last gold leaves clinging to skeletal branches, but the footprints were still there. Maya stood on her front porch, staring at the trail of pressed-down leaves that stopped at her door. No one else seemed to notice. Mr. Fletcher across the street waved as he collected his paper. Kids in backpacks ran past, laughing, crunching the leaves without a care. She forced herself inside, locking the door. "Long night?" her roommate Jenna asked, sipping coffee at the counter. Maya nodded absently, setting her bag down. "You ever hear footsteps when no one's there?" Jenna raised an eyebrow. "Like creepy stalker footsteps, or you're just tired?" Maya swallowed. "Both," Jenna smirked. "Maybe it's the Leaf Man." "The what?" "You know, dumb urban legend. Kids say he follows you if you walk alone in the fall. You hear his steps but never see him. If you stop walking, he catches up." Maya shivered. "That's not funny." Jenna shrugged, scrolling her phone. "I didn't make it up." Outside, the leaves scraped against the windows, though the air was still. Maya tried to laugh it off, but when she went to bed that night, she couldn't sleep. Every time a leaf shifted outside, she imagined those silent steps starting again. By midnight, she heard them in the hallway. Maya sat upright in bed, straining her ears. The sound was faint but steady, leaves crunching one after another inside the house. Her breath caught. Jenna's door was closed. "No TV, no movement, Maya." The whisper came from the hall. She grabbed the lamp from her nightstand and crept toward the door, every muscle shaking. The sound grew louder as she neared. When she pulled the door open, the hall was empty, but the carpet was covered in dry leaves, scattered in a trail leading toward Jenna's room. "No," Maya whispered. She pushed Jenna's door open. Jenna sat upright in bed, eyes wide, staring at the corner. Leaves crunched beneath her sheets. "You hear it too," Jenna whispered. Maya nodded, tears burning her eyes. The corner darkened, shadows twisting into something almost human. The leaves on the floor shifted, forming the shape of feet. Jenna grabbed Maya's arm. "We have to leave. Now." They fled into the night, clutching coats over their pajamas. The street was silent, lined with thick carpets of leaves, but the moment their feet hit the ground, crunch, crunch. The footsteps followed again, closer this time. "Don't stop," Maya gasped. They ran down Brookside Lane, the sound chasing them, echoing louder with every step. When they reached the gas station at the corner, its fluorescent lights buzzing, they collapsed inside. The cashier gave them a confused look. "You girls okay?" Maya's chest heaved. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Outside, the leaves piled against the glass door, pressing higher as though something stood there, waiting. The gas station lights flickered. Jenna clutched Maya's hand. "We can't stay here." "It's everywhere." The cashier frowned. "What is?" Before Maya could answer, the glass door shuddered. Leaves slammed against it in waves, rattling the frame. The cashier swore, rushing to lock it, but a voice seeped through the cracks. Step, step, step. The lights went out. In the dark, the crunching surrounded them, circling closer. Maya swung her phone flashlight on, only to see the leaves rising, twisting into a figure. A man shape, tall and thin, body made of brittle leaves and branches. Hollow eyes stared through her. The leaf man. He stepped forward, each movement echoing with that horrible crunch. "Stay back," Maya shouted, holding the light toward him. The figure tilted its head. Its voice was dry as paper. "Stop walking, and I'll stop too," Jenna sobbed, clinging to her. "Don't listen." "Don't stop," the leaf man advanced. The cashier backed into the counter, whispering prayers. Maya's chest burned. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The sound was everywhere. Finally, she screamed, "What do you want?" The figure paused. For the first time, silence fell. It raised a hand of broken twigs, pointing at her chest. "You." The floor erupted in leaves, dragging at her ankles. She kicked, fought, but the harder she struggled, the louder the crunching grew, until it drowned out her screams. Morning light broke over Brookside Lane. The gas station door hung open. Leaves scattered across the floor. The cashier stood behind the counter, eyes blank, staring at nothing. Jenna sat curled in the corner, rocking silently, her hair tangled with leaves. She didn't speak when the police questioned her. She didn't look at anyone. Maya was gone. But outside, on the pavement leading back to her house, a trail of footprints pressed deep into the leaves. They didn't stop at her door this time. They kept walking, circling the house again and again as if something was pacing, waiting. That night, neighbors swore they heard the crunching again, long after dark, and on Brookside Lane, the leaves kept falling. The lantern was still burning. Mark Davis spotted it on the far side of Hollow Creek as twilight bled across the water. A dim orange glow swayed among the black reeds, though no one should have been out there. The mill had been abandoned for 50 years, its roof caved in. Windows rotted hollow, yet the lantern bobbed, steady as if carried by unseen hands. Mark leaned against the wooden railing of the bridge, his breath clouding in the cold air. He should have gone home, but the sight pinned him in place. The flame flared brighter, reflecting in the black water. Shapes stirred below the surface, pale and blurred. For a moment it looked like faces, dozens of them, mouths open, hair drifting like weeds. Mark blinked. The lantern vanished. Then a voice whispered across the creek, soft and low, "Mark." His stomach turned cold. No one knew his name out here. He stepped back, heartbeat hammering. The voice came again, closer, seeping from the shadows of the broken mill. "Mark, come and see." The reeds rustled, though there was no wind. The water stilled, and in the silence, dozens of eyes opened beneath the surface, staring straight up at him. Mark tried to convince himself it was nothing. A trick of the dusk, a reflection. But the image of those eyes stayed with him long after he reached home. His grandmother, Ruth, was waiting at the table, knitting by the dim kitchen light. "You're late," she murmured without looking up. "Stopped by the creek," he muttered, hanging his coat. Her hands stilled. "You didn't see it, did you?" Mark froze. "See what?" Her eyes lifted, sharp and afraid. "The lantern." His blood ran cold. She set her knitting aside, her voice low. "That light don't belong to the living. Never follow it, Mark. Never cross the creek when it calls." He forced a laugh, though it shook. "It's just a lamp." "Probably some kids messing around." Ruth shook her head slowly. "That mill's cursed. My daddy told me the same when I was your age. Said a whole family drowned out there when the dam broke. Folks still see their faces in the water." Mark swallowed hard, remembering the pale shapes below the surface. "Don't go back," she warned. "Once you see the lantern, it remembers you." That night Mark dreamed of the mill. In the dream, the lantern floated inside the broken rafters, its flame flickering green. The water beneath it was black and endless, full of pale hands reaching up. And when he woke, the smell of wet reeds clung to his clothes. The next evening, Mark couldn't help himself. The creek pulled at him like a rope, tugging at his chest until his feet carried him back to the bridge. Sure enough, the lantern burned again, brighter this time, swaying in the ruins of the mill. "Don't," he whispered to himself. But the flame bent toward him, almost nodding, beckoning, A voice drifted over the water, clear as his own thoughts. "You're already ours." Mark stumbled back, nearly falling into the railing. He wasn't alone. A man stood on the other side of the bridge, tall, gaunt, his clothes soaked as though he had just crawled from the water. His eyes gleamed in the lantern light, hollow and too wide. "You see it too?" Mark asked, voice trembling. The man smiled without warmth. "Once you see it, you never stop," Mark swallowed. "What is it?" The man's smile widened. "The dead want their faces back." Before Mark could reply, the man stepped off the bridge, and instead of falling, he sank soundlessly into the water, vanishing without a ripple. Mark ran all the way home, chest burning. That night, Ruth cornered him. "You went back, didn't you?" He nodded, shaking. "Grandma, it spoke to me, and I saw someone." "A man." Ruth's face paled. "They'll take you if you keep going. The lantern shows you the dead, but it don't stop there. It pulls you in, makes you one of them." Mark's voice cracked. "Then how do I stop it?" She lowered her gaze, whispering, "You can't." The third night, Mark woke to water dripping. He sat up in bed, heart racing. His floorboards were soaked, puddles spreading under his feet. A faint orange glow flickered in the hallway. The lantern. It swung gently at the end of the hall, though no one held it. The air smelled of river mud. "Mark," the voices whispered, layered and many. "Come home." He stumbled back, shouting for his grandmother. But when he burst into her room, the bed was empty. The covers were soaked. "Grandma." His voice cracked. The lantern floated closer, water dripping with every sway. Panicked, he grabbed the shotgun from the wall and fired. The blast tore through the lantern, yet instead of breaking, the flame only grew, burning brighter, green and violent. The house shuddered. Water poured from the ceiling, gushing down the stairs, dragging him off his feet. He was swept into the current, the shotgun ripped away, his lungs filling with river stench. When he surfaced, he was back at Hollow Creek. The mill loomed overhead, and the lantern swayed from its rafters. In the water below, faces pressed against his legs, cold hands clutching him. He screamed, thrashing, but they pulled harder, dragging him down. The lantern's flame flared, and in its light, he saw his reflection on the water's surface. But his reflection didn't move with him. It smiled. By morning, the mill stood quiet again. The lantern had gone out. The townsfolk found Ruth sitting on the bridge, her eyes red, hands empty. When they asked where Mark was, she only shook her head. "He crossed," she whispered. No one asked further. Everyone knew the stories. Everyone had lost someone to the lantern eventually. That night, children dared each other to run down to the creek. Most wouldn't go near, but those who did swore they saw it. A faint light swaying in the rafters of the old mill, its flame steady and patient. And if you stood long enough on the bridge, you could see his face, Mark's face, staring up from the water, eyes wide, lips whispering silently, "Come and see." The lantern flared, then the water stilled. The bonfire burned too bright. In the clearing beyond the woods, flames clawed upward in wild orange tongues, though no one had fed the fire. The woodpile should have been ash by now, but instead the blaze roared higher, sparks twisting into shapes like screaming mouths. Anna stood at the edge of the trees, clutching her coat tighter. The autumn air was sharp, full of smoke and something sweeter, like burning flesh. Her friends had dared her to come, to spend one night near the cursed fire that locals whispered about. They said it had burned every October for the last 100 years, always in the same spot, always without anyone lighting it. The stories claimed that those who stayed too close never left. Anna thought it was nonsense. Until the fire spoke, a voice crackled in the roar of the flames, low and rasping. "Anna?" Her stomach knotted. No one knew she was here, not yet. The fire popped, spitting embers that hung in the air longer than they should have, glowing like eyes. Again the voice, "Stay with us." Forever, her breath caught. The blaze bent toward her as though leaning in. Shadows of figures moved inside the fire, reaching out with blackened arms. And beneath the crackle, she swore she heard it, the sound of dozens of footsteps circling just beyond the tree line. But when she turned, the woods were empty. Anna forced herself closer to the fire. The heat was suffocating, the air rippling like a living thing. "Just a trick," she whispered. Smoke, wind, echoes. Yet deep down she knew better. The bonfire had been here long before she was born. Her grandmother used to warn her never to step into Hollow Grove on October nights. "That fire don't burn wood," she'd say. "It burns time. Burns people." Anna hadn't believed her. But now, standing alone in the flickering glow, she remembered the names carved into the old oak near her house. Dozens of missing kids. Memorials that stretched back decades. A sound broke her thoughts. Footsteps. This time, real. Crunching leaves. "Hello?" she called out, her voice trembling. No answer. The fire surged higher, casting long shadows. And then a boy stepped into the clearing. He couldn't have been older than 12, barefoot, his clothes decades out of fashion. His eyes were wide and glassy, fixed on her. "Don't stay too long," he whispered. Before Anna could speak, he turned and vanished into the fire itself, gone in an instant. Her heart thudded. She stumbled back, whispering, "No, no, no." But the fire laughed, a deep crackling laugh that shook the trees. Anna tried to run. Branches whipped her face, roots caught her ankles, but the sound of the fire followed her, crackling, hissing, whispering her name. When she finally stopped, breathless, she realized she was back at the same clearing. The bonfire waited. "No," she whispered, clutching her head. "I ran the other way." The flames bent toward her, almost smug. "You don't leave," the voices said in unison. "Not after you see us," she shook her head violently. "You're not real." But the fire spat sparks and they took form, shapes of people stepping out of the blaze. Men, women, children. Their skin blistered, their mouths moving in silent screams. One of them stepped forward. Anna's breath caught. It was her grandmother. "Anna," the figure whispered, her voice distorted, broken by the crackle. "I warned you, but I couldn't tell you the whole truth." Anna's eyes blurred with tears. "You're dead. You've been dead for 3 years." Her grandmother's burned face tilted. "The fire keeps us. It always has. And now it wants you." "No," Anna screamed, stumbling back. "I won't." The figure reached for her, but her hand was flame itself. Anna's skin seared as she slapped it away, and the fire roared louder, angry. The voices rose like a chorus. "Stay, stay, stay." Anna bolted again, but no matter how far she ran, the clearing awaited. Each path circled back. She fell to her knees, gasping. "Why me?" The fire answered in a voice that was both many and one. "Because you still believe we're real." Anna stood, trembling, her fists clenched. "If you want me," she shouted at the flames, "then take me." "But I won't burn quiet," the fire answered with a scream, hundreds of voices howling through the blaze. Figures poured from the flames, encircling her, their faces half flesh, half cinder. Her grandmother's form appeared again, reaching toward her. "Anna, just give in. It hurts less if you don't fight." Anna's breath hitched, but rage steadied her. "If you really are my grandmother, then tell me, what was the last thing you said to me before you died?" The figure hesitated, eyes empty. Then it smiled too wide, teeth glowing like embers. "Burn!" Anna screamed and lunged forward, shoving her coat into the blaze. The fire swallowed it, shrieking. She grabbed a burning branch, swinging it wildly at the shadows. They recoiled but did not vanish. The voices grew furious. "She resists! She resists!" The ground cracked beneath her feet. Flames erupted from the soil, circling her. She was trapped. Then she remembered the boy, the warning. "Don't stay too long." Anna closed her eyes, teeth gritted. "You feed on fear," she whispered. "You keep us because we let you." Her body shook, every instinct screaming to run, but she stayed perfectly still. The fire surged, but she didn't move. Didn't scream. Didn't believe. Slowly the voices faltered. The figures wavered, flickering like dying sparks. "No," they hissed. "Don't turn away. Don't." And then, with one final crack, the fire collapsed inward. The clearing went dark. Anna woke at dawn, lying in ash. The clearing was cold, the ground blackened. No fire. No voices. She staggered to her feet, dazed. For the first time, Hollow Grove was silent. When she returned home, neighbors stared at her as if she'd risen from the grave. "The bonfire's gone," one whispered. "First time in 100 years." Anna didn't answer. That night, she sat alone by her window. She should have felt free. But in the stillness, she noticed something outside. Tiny sparks drifting in the wind, glowing like fireflies. They hovered for a moment, then faded, and just before the last one vanished, she heard it. A whisper, faint as dying embers. We'll be back.